to do a little intro, although most of you already know both of us, and then we'll get started, okay? Welcome to this success talk with my client, friend, and former colleague, Renee Micheli. My name is Lori Bender, and I'm a holistic health coach who helps busy professionals like Renee slow down and prioritize their health. About 5 years ago, my own journey to improve my health led me to wanting to study nutrition and wellness. So now I get to help others take control of their health in a way that they've never been able to before. And that's because the work that I do with my clients isn't about quick fixes or short-term diet plans, but about creating lasting change. And that's exactly what Renee has done. And I can't wait for you to hear exactly how she's done it. So at the end of this talk, we're going to open this up so you can ask her some questions if you want. And if you have any questions along the way, you can just go ahead and put them in the chat and we'll get started. So I met Renee a few years ago while we were both working on the same project in New York City. And so Renee, take us back to that time. What was your day-to-day like then? And what were some of the health challenges that you had going on at that time?
Yeah. Well, hi everyone. Thank you for being here on Sunday. I always thought that I was pretty healthy. I grew up in a very healthy family. I knew what to do, what was healthy, what wasn't healthy. But looking back, especially after, going through these questions and kind of typing out what my day-to-day was like, I realized that I was struggling a lot. A lot of times you don't even realize. So I would wake up, at the last possible minute before work. Barely put myself together, in a rush, no time for breakfast, not even like a full glass of water. And I would head to work, and my day was dictated by work. I wouldn't take any time for myself in the morning, and I would just jump straight into it. And I kind of just let work pull me in all various directions. And before I knew it, it'd be like 3 p.m. I hadn't eaten anything all day. I probably had 3 cups of coffee. And I was past the point of hungry at that point. So I would run out, I'd get Chipotle or, one of these salad chains that, we all think are healthy, but there's secret sodium and whatever in them. And I'd scarf it down. I wouldn't chew. I would just really kind of be sending emails in a stressed state and just kind of shovel it in my mouth. And at that point, I would kind of crash. Sometimes I'd even fall asleep on my desk, which would lead to another cup of coffee. And I, was kind of just getting through the day, really not prioritizing my nutrition, my personal time. And then I was probably at that point finishing up work and rushing to some plan that I, committed myself to. I'd probably going out to dinner or getting drinks with someone, which just led to more processed food and alcohol, probably going to bed late and starting the whole process over.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm sure many of us can relate to being stuck in that stress cycle. What were some of the physical things that you started to notice in your body from that?
Well, I've always been a tired person, but I think, it was definitely, I was way more tired than I'd ever been in my entire life. Felt like it was all I could do to just get through the day. Again, that was why I was living off coffee. So very low energy. I didn't feel great in my body. I wasn't, heavy, but I definitely didn't feel strong or trim. My sleep was not great either. Pretty much every aspect of my physical being, I didn't feel mentally clear. A lot of issues that I just chalked up to being, a busy, stressed out person in New York City.
Yeah. Right. We get so used to just that being our norm, right? And we don't even realize that it's not normal to feel that way.
Yep, I definitely had a lot of anxiety as well. Yeah.
So along the way, you did try some, other things, some short-term kind of things. What were some of those temporary fixes that you tried?
I would try doing juice cleanses. I didn't find that those really worked for me. I would, zip through it, and I would do, 4-day juice cleanse. And I felt I would eat something right after one of those cleanses, and any benefits that I felt, whether that was weight loss or mental clarity, whatever it was, immediately went away as soon as I was finished with it. No lasting effects. Um, Sometimes I would even feel worse because I think there was just a ton of sugar in those juices. Um, I did one of those meal deliveries. It's called Sakara, where they deliver, meals to you. So yeah, I tried that. I tried, different apps, different challenges, all sorts of things. And I feel like there were too many options, too many things that Instagram or whatever was throwing at me. And I would try whatever it was for that week. And then I would just end up even more upset or disappointed in myself because then I felt like I couldn't carry carry through whatever I started. So
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of different things, nothing worked.
Yeah. Okay. So then what was kind of the tipping point for you? Where did you get to the point where you're just like, okay, something's got to change. Like this isn't working.
I think I was able to live how I was living when, I had my stress as under control as possible, but I switched projects and I had a very stressful work life, even more so than when we were working together. And I realized that I couldn't manage my life. I wasn't getting through the day. I wasn't performing well at work. And that's always been something that I pride myself on is that, if nothing else, I'm a very hard worker. And I just felt like I was too young to not be performing at my optimal level. These are supposed to be, the years that I'm climbing the ranks and my earning years. And I felt like I couldn't even get out of bed in the morning. So not something that you want to feel, as a 28-year-old.
Yes. Yes. Okay. So you decided um that we started working together. And so what kind of started to change? What were some kind of the first things that you remember where things kind of started to shift from that time?
I would say at first, and it took a while, but a lot of it was the mental aspect of things, stress management. And I feel like looking back, it makes a lot of sense. Before I could get to the physical, I really had to heal the mental. So I think I was able to um, create very positive coping mechanisms with stress through working with Lori, meditation, really kind of working on my morning and night routine, carving out that time for myself. So yeah, I noticed a lot of mental changes first, and a slight boost in my energy as well. But I think, yeah, for about a year, we did a lot of work on unlearning some negative things that society tells you. Like I thought me not eating till 3 p.m. was a good thing. That was intermittent fasting. But
Mhm.
instead I was holding on to I wasn't burning anything because my metabolism was so low. So I think there was a lot of education, and there was a lot of stress management that I went through the first kind of year of us working together.
Yes. Yeah. And so you first started that internal work, like the mental work of like kind of unlearning the bad habits. And then what did you start to kind of bring in as like some good habits that you feel like really made a difference?
Um, well, the food, I always say that when I was living in my old apartment before I started this new job too, I would always I know that I would go to the food store and I know that I was eating, but I couldn't remember what I was eating. I couldn't recall meals. So I think I would just snack a lot. Like I wouldn't have proper meals. So I really learned how to grocery shop for myself again, like as an adult. I was more deliberate with how I was spending my time as it relates to health and wellness. I learned to honor my hunger and fullness scale and practice intentional eating. So before I would sit down for lunch, I would, no matter how busy I was, I would close my laptop. I would take a few deep breaths and I would really just tune in to eating. And it was a mind shift. It wasn't something I had to just get done through the day. I really spent time chewing and thanking my food and a lot of things that I just didn't even think about before. And instead of just finishing the whole thing because it was in front of me, really tuning into my body and thinking, am I hungry now? Am I full now? And yeah, I think that was a huge thing. Relearning how to eat, to breathe before I eat, um, and to meal prep. I got much better later on about what exactly I was bringing to work and prepping. But I started learning how to grocery shop and how to cook for myself again.
Mhm. Yeah. And you changed that who you were being while you were eating, which makes such an impact. Instead of kind of doing that mindless eating that so many of us fall into, or really not paying attention. And then you tend to overeat because you're not really tuning into your body. And if you're full already,
Yeah,
so,
you also helped me with like the whole identity portion of it. I remember I was always the person that could eat chicken fingers, and whatever I wanted, and I would never gain weight. And there was a big, mental fit and like social shift that went on if I wasn't going out to dinner, every Friday, Saturday at night with my friends, or going to every happy hour I was invited to. I had to really um, be okay with changing, my habits. And you don't realize what that does kind of socially. People will, whether they maybe feel uncomfortable themselves with how they're eating, they'll comment or put down if you're eating healthy. Maybe they don't feel that they're doing the right thing. So yeah, a lot of that as well. Like noticing that I was going to change, and the people around me may comment on that, but having to be okay with that, and be confident in my changes.
yes. Yes. And there's been a big shift from that, from like a year and a half ago to now. And, one of the things that you just told me, the other day when we were talking is like, I never thought I'd be someone that was going to bring my lunch to work, like that. That wasn't going to be something you would do. And now you bring your lunch like every day. So that's just one example of something that at that time you didn't even think was something that you could do. And now you're doing
Yeah.
it.
I remember last fall, I was going to a Yankees game with my boyfriend and his friends,
Mhm.
and I did not want to eat chicken fingers and French fries. So I brought a Ziploc baggie of hard boiled eggs and carrots in my fanny. This was a sentence I never thought that I would say. And, the guys are eating whatever, and I whip out a hard boiled egg, and, they make fun of me, but whatever.
Right. And so at some point you decided that it was worth it to do that for yourself versus just going along with what everybody else was eating, or, going ahead and just kind of ignoring what you really wanted to do for yourself. So maybe talk a little bit about that. Like how does someone do that? Like what advice would you give to somebody that like wants to make that kind of change?
It definitely took time. I mean, it wasn't perfect. It wasn't like just a straight line. Like I definitely would, I would fall back into. I think a lot of it was trial and error. Like once I made that decision that I wanted to change, and not be the person that is saying yes to everything. I would say no to maybe the social plan, or getting, whatever it was on the menu. And by saying no to that meant that I was saying yes to myself. And that felt really good. And then let's say, the next day I would do something in my old pattern. And then I would wake up the next morning and maybe I wouldn't feel as good. So I think a lot of it was just, you know, experiencing how I felt when I said yes to myself and no to something else. And also just being like open with the people around me too. Like I remember saying to the people I spend the most time with, like, hey, I'm not going to go to dinner this night. Doesn't mean that I don't care about you or want to hang out with you. Why don't, instead of us doing that, we go for a walk? So just kind of like before I found myself in situations, really planning for it as well. And working with you helped me with that a lot as well. We would always look at the week ahead, and I would look at the social plans or the things I've already committed to, and how I could make those work for the changes that I wanted to see.
Right. And you were still able to connect with people the way you wanted to. And that's another important part with when anytime we're trying to make changes, it's got to work within the context of our life, right? And that's why I think, it's so hard to keep up with these kind of short-term diet plans and extreme examples because once life happens, which life is going to happen and events are going to happen and, the games are going to happen and the work events, then we get thrown off, right? So you were able to incorporate, the changes you wanted to make into your life and you made it work for you.
Mhm.
With how you hung out with your friends and the activities that you did. Doesn't mean you can't hang out with your friends anymore. You just figured out a different way to do it.
Mhm.
And so that whole process, there was a lot of that mental aspect that went into this. The changes kind of started, the habits kind of started to change slowly over time, the trial and error. When did you start to kind of notice like the physical changes start and what kind of really kicked that off?
So, like I said, I think it was about a full year of, you know, kind of really making that mental shift and being more, um, intentional with my decisions. That I noticed a lot of the mental. And then I went through. It was last summer, and in the summer, you typically, you have more social plans. You're drinking more. You're eating more. You're traveling. And I think it was right after last summer. And I said, okay, I feel like I did this, this one step, and I feel like I'm ready to now, um, focus a little bit more on weight loss and toning. So I felt mentally prepared to do that. And coincidentally, you were doing a group detox, which really helped like kickstart my physical changes. Um, and we can talk more about what that detox is. But early September, I basically like kickstarted with like a 7 pound weight loss. And I really just kept up with the certain way that I was eating. And I wasn't really depriving myself. It wasn't a quick fix. It was definitely something that took multiple months. Um, but yeah, I think the physical changes started after I did the first detox.
Great. Yeah. So yeah, what does that involve? Like, what was the changes in terms of like eating? You said before it kind of like taught you how to like eat. So, talk a little bit about that for those who don't know how that works.
Yeah, so this cleanse is, it's not just about weight loss, it's for just clearing out your liver and your blood and, your gut and all things to kind of just give your digestion a break. So the first 2 days are basically just this powder that has all your daily nutrients and protein as well. So that really takes the guesswork out of what am I eating today. So that's the first 2 days. And then days 3 through 7, you start with a shake and then you have a vegan lunch. And then you have a either animal protein or vegan protein dinner with vegetables and some fat as well. So it kind of, again, like there's so much out there with, what you should do, what you shouldn't do. There's good fats. There's, people think you should do keto, or there's so much out there that this literally comes with like a map, and it tells you pick, 2 vegetables from here, pick a protein from here, and pick a fat from here. So it really kind of like helped me cut through the noise and food shopping. And I just kept my lunches simple. They would just be like a salad with, a drizzle of lemon juice, some olive oil, and tofu, which I've come to really love and enjoy. And then dinners would just be like ground chicken, ground turkey with green beans or broccoli or any sort of vegetable with a tablespoon of fat. So once I did that, I realized that it was possible to eat that way. I thought there's no way, I'm never going to eat this way. This isn't sustainable. But once I did it and I went, I survived work, I brought the salad to lunch every day of this cleanse. I was able to cook not only for me, but for my boyfriend as well this way. He altered it a little bit if he wasn't doing the cleanse. And it just showed me that you're also putting so much in your food that you don't realize, like whether it's like, a zhuzh of oil in the pan, like measuring out a tablespoon of olive oil is not as much as you think. Um, or it's not that much, but I was just putting so much in the pan, and it really just kind of helped me scale back and just simplify what I was eating.
Hmm. Yeah. So there's the fasting part of it for a couple days, and then you can move into this like clean eating and it's meal times, right? So you know exactly when you're eating, exactly what you're going to eat because you got to plan it out ahead of time. So what from that were you able to like start incorporating moving forward that you feel like really helped?
Well, I pretty much just started food shopping how I food shopped for the cleanse, except I wasn't doing the fasting days after that. Um, so for breakfast, I would make, I still do, I still use that powder, but I add frozen fruit, um, as well as like a daily vegetable blend as well. So I make this kind of like superfood smoothie in the morning. And I've never been someone that likes to eat in the morning, so smoothie's great. I'm able to kind of just drink it throughout, the first half of the morning. And I find that that gives me energy as well. So I have that every day, and then I pretty much have the lunch that I just explained. So it's just vegetables and a protein source. I would be a little more like flexible. Obviously, when I'm on the cleanse, I'm measuring things. It's a little bit more structured, whereas day to day, I'm not eating at a certain time. I'm more listening to my body when I'm hungry, and just having a very healthy vegan lunch, which changes, week to week. And then the dinner, it's still kind of the bones of that cleanse where I'm having like one protein source, one veggie, and one fat. Um, and I never left the cleanse feeling like starving. I felt satisfied. And yeah, it really teaches you how to eat healthy instead of depriving yourself of something and then you just go back to your old ways.
Yes. Right. Right. Yeah. It helps with cravings, if um, the kind of the sugar cravings go away, the carb cravings, those kind of things can go away as well. And I know one of the things that I realize a lot every time I do one of those is how much the snacking just kind of creeps in where we don't really realize it. How, instead of having a full meal, like you discussed before, it's like I can kind of get into that snacking mentality. So really having those like specific meal times to give your
Mm.
digestion that break in between. So key. So what about handling stress? That's something else that was, a big factor in your life. Um, what are some techniques now that you're using? You talked a little bit about how, like, before you sit down to eat, that you're taking some time to like take some deep breaths. Um, Anything else that you're doing or that you felt like you were doing that really helped with that?
So I think starting your day and your night with a set routine really, really helps with stress. Again, I was just waking up and going straight into my day. Whereas now I wake up, I have that time to have alone time. I don't even look at my phone for, the first 20 minutes. Um, and I just really focus on like my skincare, something that makes me, that I feel like I'm prioritizing myself and putting myself first, and then diving into work. I would feel this like sense of dread because the first thing I would do when I would wake up is I would turn my alarm off and I would see this like flood of emails. Um, so I think starting the day without like the phone is key. Preparing myself, a super healthy breakfast. For me, it's that shake. Um, and like getting ready in the morning too, I think is, it is an important part of feeling ready for the day instead of just like throwing on whatever's there and running out the door, like being deliberate of doing your hair, your makeup, or your outfit. So that way, by the time I got to work, I felt prepared and like ready for the day. Whereas before, I felt like the day was just like happening to me and I wasn't dictating how my day would go. My day would control me.
Mhm.
So I think a big part of it was taking back control, like over my day. Um, and what's funny is, I think I needed a lot of other tools in the beginning. I needed meditations, like Lori has some that she filmed and has on YouTube that I found myself listening to every morning. I'd wake up with like a gasp, anxiety, and I like my job, so I was confused, like where that was coming from. Um, so I would listen to meditations, I would journal. But now I found that I've been doing these nighttime routines and these morning routines. I think also with eating better. I found that like that unexplained stress and anxiety is totally gone. I still get like stressed with work or whatever it is, but I'm always able to pinpoint what it is. It's never that like just feeling of like doom or like dread for no reason. So that I feel like I've totally healed from my routines and my diet. And I never thought I'd be someone that liked routines. I thought routines were rigid and, I'm a go with the flow person. And I thought that was just against who I am. But I found that it is so key, so key for me. And I'm still able to be a go with the flow person with plans and whatever it is. But having these routines to go back to really helps me mentally.
Yes. And so before you said you kind of were just starting your day too, just like, it was chaotic, kind of like thrown right into your day. And now you're giving yourself that time to, have some, quiet time to yourself before kind of like you're start looking at the emails. Did that require getting up a little earlier as well? Did that change at all with your routine?
Yes, and I'm not a morning person, but it always starts the night before. So I think my morning routine really starts with my night routine. My night routine, I used to stay up really late. And again, I think that was because I was so in the sense of like panic and stress during my day that when I got home, I felt like, you know, 7 o'clock, I then have to make dinner. And then, or maybe I went to the gym and then I made dinner. And then I felt like I was sitting down to relax and it'd be like 9 o'clock. And I felt like I didn't have enough of my day to like enjoy up to myself. So I would stay up late because I thought that I was doing myself a favor. I'm giving myself more time to decompress, more time to relax. But I would use that time and I would scroll or, something unproductive. Whereas now I definitely put myself to bed earlier. Um, and that's helped so much. So that way now I'm able to wake up earlier, easier. And Lori actually told me about this great app called Sleep Timer. I think it's called Sleep Timer. And you put in within a 30-minute window of when you want to wake up. And I don't know how, but it knows what cycle of sleep you're in. So it doesn't wake you up if you're in like your REM sleep. So it wakes me up when I'm like kind of coming out of it. And it really made a huge difference. I never wake up and I have that like crazy sense of exhaustion because I'm waking up in my ideal sleep pattern.
Right. Like you're
Um,
lighter depth of
yep.
sleep. It's not waking you out of that like really deep sleep. And I'm sure everyone can relate to this where like you wake up like right before your alarm is about to go off, but you decide to go back to sleep. And then your alarm goes off and you just feel like so dead tired and you were better off just getting up 5-10 minutes before the alarm was supposed to go off. And so this kind of avoids that where it like gradually wakes you up at the right time. So you don't feel that. So that's been a huge change for that help for myself
And it's not like I'm not like a 6 a.m. or a 5 a.m. or like that's never going to be me. So, it was just waking up like 45 minutes earlier. So it's not like it doesn't have to be like, you read all these articles. And I would do this too. I'm such an all or nothing person. Like I would read an article about how, you know, the Huffington woman wakes up at like 4:30 in the morning. I was like, I'm going to do that for a week, but that would never stick either. Like I would go too far extreme and just waking up 45 minutes earlier than I was has really just changed the game for me.
Yes. Yes. And that's a really good point too, because the same thing can happen with exercise and as well, right? We kind of have this all or nothing, like, well, if I can't get to the gym and do an hour workout, then it's just not worth it, right? So maybe talk a little bit how you've kind of added in some movement into your routine, like what that's been looking like, and you have a resource that you've been using for that as well that you like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think again, I thought that you'd have to be like breaking a ridiculous sweat for you to kind of get a worthwhile workout. Um, which, I've really changed my mindset on that. And if I'm walking home from work, like I'll count that as a workout for the day. If I have 20 minutes before, if I have an early Tuesday meeting, so I like to bookend my plan. So I know that I have to be up anyway at 7:30, after my meeting, I'll, run down to the treadmill just for 20 minutes. And that's better than, you know, nothing. And then I think it's also like finding what workout works for you. I would find, again, I'm like a tired person, and I would find that doing these high intensity interval classes would just like wipe me out, and I would be so exhausted. So I found that I really like actually weightlifting, and I have this app that really takes out it can be a little daunting, like especially as a woman, like going into a gym with all these, like big guys, and I didn't feel like I could like take one of those benches from them because I don't really know what I'm doing. But this app is this like female woman who just lifts weights. She's not a bodybuilder or anything, and she shows you how to do different workouts. And so that, like, I find gives me energy, makes me feel strong, and is something I'm able to work into my schedule, and has been something that I really have enjoyed.
Great. Yeah. And something else that you've really been able to do well too, and I've seen a change in, is just how you plan for trips and what you do when you're traveling. So can you talk a little bit about that and like some things that you're doing now that are different than what you were doing before when it comes to trips?
Yeah, yeah. I After coming back from a trip, I would be so anxious. I would be so overwhelmed. I would feel guilty for, what how I ate on that trip. I would feel just totally like in disorganized and disarray. And I would honestly feel like I wish I didn't take the trip because how I feel now is so awful. Um, and a lot of times it was because I was getting home at like 11 p.m. and I had to be at work the next morning at 9. So something that has really helped is adding in time before and after whatever trip it is to create a buffer. So if you're taking a week off of work, maybe only make the trip 5 days, but give yourself a day before to do all your errands and pack, and give yourself the day after instead of extending the trip for as long as possible to, unpack, do your laundry, go food shopping, even if it's just to do nothing and sit on the couch all day. At least you have that built-in time where you don't feel like you're going straight from, fun to work. Like you have that kind of buffer, and that's totally helped my mental, and it's made it a lot easier for me to get back to my routines, having that buffer on either end.
Yes. Great. Yeah. That's so key. And just reducing stress levels, setting yourself up for the week, having time to like do that meal prep and, grocery shopping, unpack, like you said, just like get yourself in a better mental space before you have to like, go right into work.
Mhm.
Anything else that you've been doing, while traveling? I know one thing, we talked about, was like your skincare routine and, just keeping up with the shakes, like things like that. Um, okay.
Yeah, I think when you're on vacation, there's a lot of like, the whole point of vacation is to not do your routines, is to kind of give yourself a break from your normal day-to-day life. But I find that if I completely abandon everything, it doesn't do me any favors. So something as small as like my skincare routine, instead of, just not doing it because I'm on vacation, it creates some sort of sense of normalcy and routine. So then it's one less thing to like get back into when I get home. And, I'm not talking about like a 12-step skincare routine. I'm talking about like washing my face, using my toner and my moisturizer. Like it's so simple, but it really does, you know, ease the post travel anxiety and helps you get back into your routines a lot easier. And also, I have started kind of food shopping a little bit before my trips too, so that way, not like as many perishable things, but that way when I come home and I open the refrigerator, there's not nothing there, and I'm given the excuse to order or, you know, get something quick. I'm able to always make a meal no matter, even if I don't have any groceries, even if it's healthy things that I keep in my pantry.
Great. So lastly, I just want to kind of hear about like kind of what's next for you, right? What are you kind of working on now on your journey?
So, definitely still a work in progress. I have done a lot of great building blocks, I think, and I think my next block is the fitness aspect of it. I think I definitely have found what I'd like to do and added in some workouts and my steps and things like that. But I think I could be a bit more consistent with that. So I think fitness definitely. And yeah, just continuing to especially now that we're heading back into the fall, I do want to do another detox. I think you're planning one for September. To kind of, over the summer again, things just get a little bit more lax. I'm going on a big trip, which will be great. But having that cleanse to kind of have when I get back I think will help as well. Yeah, focusing on fitness and shedding a little bit of the summer weight. But the past year, I have lost in total 15 pounds, which I don't think I thought I had 15 pounds to lose, but there really is a lot to say, I think, about like inflammation as well. And I think I lost a lot of just, yeah, like inflammation. I don't know how to describe it. I just feel like lighter in general.
Yeah, there's like a puffiness that sometimes you experience from our diet. It can be from medications, it can be from alcohol. And so when we start to remove those things, we'll notice that. And that's one thing that people notice a lot from the detox too, is that maybe if they felt like their face was getting a little puffy, all of a sudden, like that goes away. So that's that inflammation that we're taking away. And we are going to be doing a detox in mid-September. So anyone who wants to join, I hope that you'll join us for that. I'll be sharing some more information about that. But thank you all so much for jumping on and being here. I do want to encourage anyone who has any questions to go ahead and unmute themselves. If everyone wants to turn on their cameras and say hi, we'd love to see your faces now. And Dan, we have to thank you for the sleep app that we're both using, because actually I heard about that through Dan.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Glad I could contribute.
No, Dan, you were never one of my stressors.
Well, kind of you to say, but I'm pretty sure it was in that. But you handled it incredibly well, and you look great. I'm really proud of you for all the changes that you've made and being so consistent. And like Lori asked you in the last question, what's your next step? You have a plan to take another step, and I think that's fantastic. Very inspiring.
Oh, thanks, Dan. And if anyone's curious, it's called Sleep Cycle, the app.
Yeah, there you go.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Any questions? No, we covered it all. All right. Well, the group detox is going to be in mid-September. I think the 18th, we're going to be starting it Monday, the 18th. And it's 7 days. And I hope I see all of you there for that. It's a really great way to, again, kind of like kickstart any weight loss program that anyone's wanting to do. But it's so much more than that. I mean, the benefits of the weight loss are kind of the side effect of really just getting yourself healthy and, cutting out the food that's, not really serving you anymore, and the snacking and all that, and kind of learning, okay, these are the right meal times that I should be eating, and a balanced plate. So, yeah, hopefully all you can join us for that. And if that's intimidating, no worries. Like Renee said, it did take her a little time to mentally get ready for that. So I hope that today you heard some things that maybe you are ready to try if it's not a detox just yet. Hopefully there are some other things that you might take from this to get things started. All right, and if that's all, then we will let you all get back to your evening.
Thank you, Lori.
You're welcome. All right, bye everybody.